I would like to thank my honourable friend, the member for Dartford, for succeeding in securing this timely and important debate. And I speak as a member who has a constituency right on the edge of Outer London, just inside the boundary. Ms Rees, the proposal by Sadiq Khan to impose an Outer London boundary tax is one of the silliest ideas that he has come up with in the past 5 years. Some of Sadiq Khan's defenders have said this is about improving air quality. But this is nonsense. This proposal has absolutely nothing to do with improving air quality. Transport for London know where the bad air is in London. Indeed, they've published the analysis they did when they were looking into the creation of the ultra-low emission zone some years ago, and it's still available for anyone who wishes to see it. It's produced in the form of a heat map that shows where air quality is, or bad air is, inside Greater London, and unsurprisingly, it's around central London, it's around Heathrow Airport, and it's on some of the trunk roads into and out of London. Where it demonstrably is not is in outer London. What this proposal is, pure and simple, is a revenue-raising exercise. Now, since he'll be aiming it squarely at people who do not live inside Greater London and will therefore have no say or vote in this matter, it is, as my honourable friend has said, effectively taxation without representation. There is a huge democratic deficit here. But just because the people forced to pay this charge don't live in Greater London doesn't mean that it won't have an impact on those who do live inside Greater London. As honourable members have said, this proposal would deliver a hammer blow to Outer London's businesses. They rely on suppliers and customers driving in from outside the area to shop and to work. And this will jeopardise people's livelihoods and our recovery from the pandemic. And it's not just those working in or using our local businesses that will be impacted. Those who provide our public services will also be hit. 51% of metropolitan police officers live outside the Greater London boundary. 52% of London firefighters live outside the Greater London boundary. They work shifts, and very often they have to drive to work. So do almost 3,000, or more than 1 in 5, of the employees of my local National Health Service trust. Now, a few weeks ago, I wrote to head teachers in all of the schools in my constituency of Orpington to seek their views on this and how many of their staff and pupils would be impacted by it. And a great many have written back to me, all of them expressing serious concerns about the detrimental impact this would have. A common concern has been about the impact it would have on teacher recruitment and retention going forward. One head teacher commented, "For us as a school, this equates to 40% of our teaching and leadership staff and 33% of our administrative staff. To penalise staff by imposing a £3.50 daily charge would undoubtedly add financial pressure to individuals, but would also negatively affect recruitment from Greater London boroughs such as Bromley. I honestly believe that if this proposal is to go ahead, it will have a profound effect on recruiting and retaining staff in Greater London boroughs. Some of these staff are young, who took advantage of relatively lower housing costs to purchase outside the Greater London area. For them and others, this additional daily cost will be particularly hard. There is no serious public transport alternative to use, and therefore this will be a severe blow to those who are impacted. It will feel like a tax on work." Another observed, "For our full-time staff, the additional cost will be like a salary reduction of £1,000 per annum. This will make us less competitive in terms of recruitment relative to schools in Kent and Surrey, or those who have public transport close by. And this potentially would result in some families not being able to afford to bring their children into school, some of whom are deemed vulnerable children." Now, finally, I had a letter unprompted from another constituent, and it's worth quoting it at this length, Ms Rees. "I'm a teacher. I have taught in Orpington for 22 years. This charge would affect me and other workers every single day. This charge might be appropriate for inner London, where there are alternative means of transport, but that is not true here. We do not have a good, reliable bus service. We do not have the tube. With a newly unemployed husband and a family, this is a cost I just can't bear, and one that is grossly unfair, given the lack of available alternative public transport. I doubt Orpington High Street and the Nugent Retail Park would survive if shoppers from Swanley, Dartford and other surrounding areas, put off by the charge, cease to come." Ms Rees, Sadiq Khan has been Mayor of London for 5 years, and for most of that time, City Hall has been an achievement-free zone. There's been lots of virtue signalling, a good deal of showboating, lots of finger pointing and blame shifting. But in terms of the core deliverables, building houses, running a transport system, keeping people safe, the last 5 years have been marked by ignominious failure. One thing that he has said has struck a chord, however. His slogan of "London is open" is a sentiment that previously united Londoners and the surrounding areas. But introducing a proposal like this shows how empty that slogan is. London is not open if people are taxed whenever they attempt to enter it. Now, there is no denying under Sadiq Khan's leadership, TfL's debt has risen to record levels, key infrastructure projects have been delayed or cancelled, the delivery of Crossrail has been bungled, and hundreds of millions of pounds of potential income have been thrown away on pet projects. But Ms Rees, it is simply not acceptable for him now to look to recover his losses by imposing this damaging border tax. He should drop this silly proposal immediately. And if he refuses, I would call on the government, in common with colleagues, to remove his power to impose it.